Alright guys, and welcome to another video. Today is making a very little video talking about how Warlocks are going to be complete gods at leveling in Wrath of the Lich King. They truly are totally indestructible and unstoppable machines when it comes to leveling. They have a ridiculous amount of damage output, and all of that damage output gets returned as healing, so their survivability is just nutty. I've been running around doing testing in pretty bad TBC gear like TBC blues from dungeons, not even heroics, and I'm still pretty much unstoppable with 690 spell damage. Imagine what it's going to be like when people are decked out in full-on hardcore Sunwell gear. To understand why they're so strong, let's take a little look at all of the talent changes. Now, the first big one is Soul Link. Soul Link has been moved way further up in the tree, which means we can spec deeper into Affliction now to pick up loads of those juicy talents while still getting this really nice 20% damage reduction. And the next big change is Siphon Life. It's now integrated into your corruption spell, so whenever you deal damage with corruption, you are instantly healed for 40% of the damage done. So you don't have to use a separate dot to get this healing effect, and obviously the more people you use corruption on, the more healing it returns to you. This will also tick away with Fell Armor, right, which has been totally reworked. It will regenerate 3% of your maximum health every 5 seconds. So obviously when you have a big health pool, you know, Warlocks in TBC now have like 10k health pool, that's going to be ticking away for a decent amount of health. And obviously with the talent Demonic Ages, you buff it by an extra 30%, so you really cannot complain at that. And then if you're not getting enough healing from Fell Armor, you can switch to Demon Armor, which increases the amount of health you get by 26% by all of your health regeneration or health drain effects. And it doesn't end there, you still got the other TBC talents like Siphon Life and Shadow Mastery that increase your health regeneration, well, your life drain effects by an extra 33%. And then the two other key talents are Dark Pact and Mana Feed. You can combine this for a ridiculous amount of mana regeneration, because basically you drain your pet's mana and then your life tap, and then his mana goes up straight away anyway, so you pretty much have totally infinite mana. I'm not saying that these talents are set in stone, FYI, I'm just talking about some of the really overpowered talents, because some people may spec deeper down into the Affliction tree to pick up talents like Unstable Affliction rather than using Immolate. But I would personally just use Immolate and take advantage of Mana Feed. Another cool thing is 15% of your total spell damage is actually converted to healing on the pet, so it's much easier to basically keep your pets alive now. An improved Fell Hunter talent isn't too bad either, because it will regenerate his mana better. I think most people will probably go for the Fell Hunter when leveling as a Warlock, especially when you're doing, you know, farming dungeons anyway, like solo farming dungeon. I'll talk about that more later, because he obviously has a spell lock as well. And your main enemy when you're taking down elite mobs in a dungeon, when you're solo farming them, is obviously, you know, casters. But if you have the Fell Hunter there, you can kick the cast and silence them. And obviously glyphs are added in Wrath. So you got glyphs like Quick Decay, which will reduce the time between your periodic damage ticks of your corruption spell based on your haste. So that's a massive DPS increase and obviously health regeneration increase. And then you've got Siphon Life, which increases the effect of the Siphon Life talent by an extra 25%. For obviously a total of 65%, so it's even more healing. And then you've got Life Tap, which increases your spell power whenever you use Life Tap or Dark Pact. Again, a nice little bonus. But obviously I should clarify, you can only have 3 major glyph slots at level 80, but you can get 2 at level 70. It definitely wouldn't surprise me if many of the world first 80 runners actually played a Warlock, because if you think about how, you know, Warlocks were able to solo slave pens to level extremely fast when TBC launched. Imagine that, but now Warlocks are even more powerful and even more capable of doing that. You know, they're going to spam Curse of Exhaustion on all the mobs so they can just infinitely run away from the mobs and just wait for the dots to rot them down. And now they have much more damage, because Affliction is actually the top dog DPS spec in the first phase of Wrath of the Lich King. Well, it's like top 3. And then obviously they have a nutty amount of healing now that can be returned to you. So when you are in a, you know, difficult situation, you can basically survive through it. I wouldn't even be surprised if a Warlock with this build and played correctly would be able to face tank like a couple of elites at once. But obviously they are going to be running away mostly. But even if they get into these hairy situations, then they'll be fine. It wouldn't even surprise me if, like, you know, a lot of the world first runners actually ditched a lot of these survivability talents and just specced into more damage talents. Because when people like decked out in like a lot of spell power gear, you know, from Sunwell, then, you know, they'll probably just put a couple dots on these, you know, elite mobs in Utgard Keep, and then that'll be it, they'll just die and move on to the next. I think Warlocks will easily be able to solo it. Like, the first few packs might be quite difficult because there's not a lot of kiting room, but like eventually there will be more room to kite, and especially in dungeons like the Nexus, there's a lot of room in the Nexus to just basically run back and kite, so I think it'd be fairly easy for Warlocks to just basically solo dungeons. And even for the more casual player who's just leveling normally, Warlocks are just going to be so ridiculously easy to level. There really is no limit to the amount of mobs that you can pull if you're playing correctly. The only limit is how many mobs are actually in your close vicinity. You can just keep pulling and keep pulling. You just are totally unstoppable. And it's really, really fun to play. It's honestly nearly as easy as leveling in retail. Anyway guys, that's all I have time for today. Let me know in the comment section if you're playing a Warlock for Wrath of the Lich King. But anyway, my name is MetaGoblin. Until the next video, ciao.